Good day. Today it's important for us to have a discussion on a very important topic, which is actually the growth of the well-structured and funded anti-science movements, which have direct implications to global public health today. It's important to note that distrust in science, for instance, if we're thinking of vaccine hesitancy, will not only lead to people not taking up vaccines, but it's actually going to cost money, and it's something that actually costs life. So what is bad science and the implications of bad science to anti-science within the global public health sphere? Maybe we start by reminding ourselves of the fact that science is a social enterprise. Science is public funded, it's taxpayers' money. To get research or findings from science, most importantly within the biomedical research and global public health spaces, we need research participants that sacrifice their time and their bodies. So it is a moral and ethical responsibility for us to do ethical research and to do science. Science costs money, and when poorly done, not only results in findings that are useless, but leads to loss of lives, because populations will not require or will not be served with the high quality health interventions that they truly deserve. It is reductionist to think of bad science as simply as unethical science. Indeed, unethical science, reducing unethical science mainly to aspects of the main ethical principles of beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and it's really very reductionist to look at the badness in the science we do. Doing bad science badly has huge implications. Let's think, as I mentioned earlier, of the real growing, structured, funded ecosystem of the anti-science movement. A recent study that was carried out in the UK showcased huge sums of money that was wasted, huge numbers of lives that were lost because people were not vaccinated, or because some people were actually vaccinated late. An ingredient within the ecosystem that has been maybe under-recognized or not worked on is the poor science communication skills within the ecosystem. Indeed, if there is one aspect of life or scientific life that scientists have been doing really badly on, is science communication. It is an ethical and optimal imperative for us to up the game when it comes to improving the skills of scientists in science communication. It doesn't make sense if you look at the publication space today, the number of publications that come out every day. It's really unrealistic for people to actually keep up with this scientific knowledge that is produced every day. It's therefore important for us to improve our science communication skills so that these research findings are actually channeled to the right persons through the right channels in the right formats, so that people who fund or who deserve to get the results of these findings actually get these results on time. What are the other implications of poor science communication? When we have poor science communications, this is a very good breeding ground for the anti-science movement or anti-science protagonists to actually fill the space. We also need to rethink epistemicide, which actually means how we recognize knowledge. There are various forms of knowledge that have traditionally not been optimally recognized. I'm thinking of indigenous knowledge, I'm thinking of localized knowledge, I'm thinking of experiential knowledge. So we must not only be reductionist to reduce our thinking when it comes to knowledge to maybe Western or Northern borrowed knowledge from what we call robust methodologies. There are other forms of knowledge that have been under-recognized that really have to be strongly recognized. Most importantly, as we think the decolonization and localization, or true decolonization and true localization research agendas. Bad science accommodates helicopter research. Bad science accommodates unequitable research. Within this current architecture, there is no room for helicopter research, and it's important for us to train our scientists and researchers and practitioners within the global public health space to know exactly what it means to do or to engage into an equitable partnership, to know exactly how to monitor an equitable partnership, and to know exactly how to exit a partnership which proves to be unequitable. It's true that most of the research or most of the funding that is received within the global public health space comes from the global north. But it's important for global south practitioners to engage into partnerships with dignity. It goes without saying that global south practitioners also have some accountability and responsibility dimensions when it comes to promoting equitable partnerships in research or equitable partnerships in global public health. There are growing reports that even within the global south, there are rising cases of inequitable partnerships, which is really unacceptable if we want to actually advance a fertile ground of solidarity and good global public health practice. It has been abundantly reported in literature that we need to rethink our authorship practices to provide the respected positions to authors that contribute to the work that is done within the global public health space in respected journals and in respected positions in this publication. However, from a funding space, funders also have a huge responsibility, because most of the time the funding decisions are made or partly made based on the publication record of the principal investigators. Without downplaying on the importance of publishing, without downplaying on the importance of publishing in what the so-called important journals, it becomes a little bit difficult for global south practitioners who at times do not have the funds to publish in these high impact factor journals or publish in local journals that are not seen to be competitive when it comes to winning grants within the global public health space. So rethinking equity within the funding competitions of the grants that have been launched is something of utmost importance. The reward paradigm within the science space has to be rethought. Indeed, because people will only be rewarded for what they do. But if people are only rewarded based on the number of publications that they have, rewarded based on the H index, rewarded based on impact factors, the impact factor of the journals they publish. In my view, this is a very reductionist view of thinking impact or thinking good science. Good science should capitalize on the importance of the work that we do and to think the impact of the work that we do in the research conceptualization phases of the research. An aspect of bad science which is really important when we also think through the current challenges of our times, I'm thinking of the impact of climate change on health and this growing anti-science movement, is a silos mentality within the practice and scholarship spaces. There are increasing calls of intertransdisciplinarity for us to attack or to conceptualize and fight against the complex public health challenges of our time. But these calls on their own are really very reductionist. Why? In my view, putting people with high diverse technical skills into the room is really not going to make them to work together. It's therefore time to come up empirically with best practices on how to make people work together to face public health challenges of our time. Science leadership, science diplomacy, science governance, and science politics are dimensions that have been under-recognized, most importantly in the global south. The critical role of leadership, the critical role of governance in promoting good science cannot be overestimated. These are key areas that we have to invest on as a global public health. I will conclude by saying that we need good science to counter the growing anti-science movement that is well structured and well funded, as I mentioned earlier. Improving on our science communication skills is really critical, because if we leave the gap, these anti-science protagonists are certainly going to feel it. We need to do good science. We need to work together, but we need to get very good ways, empirically proven methodologies on how to work together in order to solve the global public health challenges of our time. Thank you very much.